I've been thinking about gifts lately, and not presents, but the things that people are naturally good at. The abilities that seem to come easier for one person than they do another. Maybe you can communicate. Maybe you can communicate better than anyone else. Maybe you can build. Maybe you can teach or lead. Maybe you cook meals better than anyone can. Maybe you can create or solve problems or work with your hands. Maybe you can understand people or make music or organize chaos into a seamless package for other people. Maybe you can make people laugh or fix things with your hands or encourage people. Maybe there's something that you can do that you've always assumed wasn't particularly special because it's normal to you. And I've started wondering, what if some of the things that we consider ordinary about ourselves are actually things that God entrusted to us for somebody else? Because that's what I'm beginning to understand about gifts. They're given to us, but they're rarely given only for us. And that changes the question. So instead of asking, what can my gifts get me? Maybe I should be asking, what can God do for someone else through what he's given me? Those are very different ways to live. Because our culture, it teaches us to monetize almost everything that we're good at. And there's nothing inherently wrong about that. If you develop a valuable skill, there's nothing wrong with earning a living from it. A carpenter should be paid. A teacher should be paid for raising the next generation of people and students. An artist can sell their work. A business owner can profit from solving problems. Work has value. But I think that something gets lost when the only question we ever ask about an ability is how much money can we make from this? Maybe the better question is, what is this for? And I've spent a lot of my life developing skills, some intentionally, some because life forced me to. Communication, selling, learning how to understand people, working with my hands, training my body, learning through mistakes, building things, explaining things. And for a long time, I mostly thought about skills in terms of what they could help me accomplish. What could I build? What could I earn? And where would this take me? Those aren't necessarily bad questions. They're just incomplete because eventually achievement becomes a pretty small reason to have been given something. And I've started thinking about people who've helped me throughout my life. Most of them used something that they had. Someone knew something that I didn't. Someone had an experience that I didn't have. Someone knew how to encourage me. Someone opened a door. Someone explained something to me. Someone gave their time. Someone shared a skill, and something they possessed became something that helped me. And that's how gifts move through the world. One person receives something, they develop it, and they some of them actually then give some of it away. And I think that's beautiful. Peter writes that each of us should use whatever gifts that we've received to serve other people. Now, I'm sure you've seen that before where, people share their gifts. Some people are stingy with them. But we're supposed to be faithful stewards of God's grace. But there's that word again, stewards, not owners. So that means that the things that I'm good at, they aren't ultimately about me. And I've been entrusted with them. And if I've been entrusted with something, then responsibility comes with it. Jesus said, from everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. That's a sobering verse because we usually think of blessing as something to celebrate. And you know what? It is. Blessing is definitely something to celebrate. But blessing also creates responsibility. If I know something that can help someone, there's responsibility there. If I have resources, there's responsibility. If I have strength, there's responsibility. If people listen when I speak, there's responsibility. If I'm good at something, there's responsibility. No pressure to save the world. I'm not talking about pressure saving the world. None of us can do everything, but maybe we're supposed to do something with what we've been given. And if I've noticed there's at least two ways we can get gifts wrong. One is pride. We can become good at something and slowly begin believing that it makes us better than other people. We start needing recognition. We want everyone to notice. Our ability becomes our identity. And then criticism becomes unbearable. because criticizing what I do feels like criticizing who I am altogether. Success, it makes me feel valuable, and failure makes me feel worthless. So that's a dangerous place to live. And it's because gifts, they make terrible identities. Eventually, someone's going to be better than you. Someone younger is going to step up and come along. Your body may change and your opportunity may disappear altogether. The audience may move on. The thing that you're known for may become something that you can no longer do. So, if identity itself is built entirely around my gifts, what happens when the gift changes? And that's why I need something deeper. Before I'm useful, before I'm talented, before I'm successful, before anyone knows my name, I'm loved by God. My gift doesn't create my value. So it gives me another way to express the value that God's already given me. That's one side of things. But there's another way that we get gifts wrong. We bury them. Sometimes because of fear, sometimes because of comparison, sometimes because we convince ourselves that what we have isn't important enough. Someone else is better, someone else knows more, someone else is already doing it. So who am I to try? I've heard that voice. And I think there's a kind of false humility that sounds spiritual, but actually keeps us inactive. I don't have anything important to offer. Maybe that's not humility. Maybe that's disagreeing with God who gave you something. Humility isn't pretending that you have no gifts. Humility is recognizing where they came from and remembering what they're for. If you're good at something, you can acknowledge that. You can develop it. You can become excellent at it. And you can work incredibly hard. You can even become one of the best in the world at something and still remain humble. Because humility doesn't require mediocrity, it requires remembering this isn't ultimately about me. So I love that because I don't think that faithfulness means refusing ambition. I think it means surrendering ambition. There's a difference. I can want to become excellent, not so everyone will praise me, but because excellence increases my ability and my capacity to serve other people. If I'm a teacher, becoming better at teaching helps more people understand. If I'm a builder, becoming better means I can build things that last. If I'm a leader, growing in wisdom means that I can lead people more responsibly. If I'm an artist, developing my crafts, it actually allows me to build something more beautiful. And if I'm a parent, growing in patience and wisdom, it changes the environment that my child grows up in. Development isn't vanity. It depends on what the development is for. So I've also recognized that gifts, they aren't always spectacular. We celebrate the visible ones, speaking and, singing, leading and creating. But some of the most important gifts I've encountered are quiet. The person who knows how to make someone feel welcome, the person who notices when someone's hurting, the person who can sit down beside someone who's grieving without trying to fix them, the person who remembers everyone's birthday, the person who can repair anything, almost anything at least, the grandmother whose house becomes the place everyone feels safe, the friend who answers the phone, the quiet person who quietly gives part of their day, part of their life. And, even the employee, everyone trusts because they always do what they say that they're going to do. Those gifts never built an audience, but they built people. And that's worth something, maybe more than we realize. And I've started thinking about gifts almost like seeds. Seeds have potential, nothing more, right? So you can hold a seed in your hand for 50 years and it'll never become what it could have become. So at some point, it has to be planted. And planting is risky. Once that seed leaves your hand, you lose some control. Maybe it doesn't grow. Maybe someone criticizes what it's trying to do. Maybe you fail altogether. Maybe your first attempt at things is absolutely terrible, utterly terrible. It probably will be. But unused potential doesn't serve anyone. And that's something that I've had to accept. Sometimes you have to be bad at something before you can become useful at it. We want to skip that part. We want the polished result at the beginning, the confidence, the expertise. But every person who's excellent at something once didn't know what the heck they were doing. They started, they practiced, they failed over and over and over. They learned, but most importantly, they kept going. And slowly, the gift, it became something they could actually give to someone. That's why I think developing what God gives us actually matters. Stewardship isn't simply possessing a gift, it's cultivating it. If God gave me an ability, what am I doing to sharpen it? Am I learning, practicing, listening, accepting correction, becoming more disciplined? Or am I expecting talent to carry me forever? Talent can open a door. Character is going to determine what happens after you walk through that door. And I think that's another responsibility that comes with gifts. Character has to grow alongside capacity because ability without character can become destructive. We've seen that everywhere. Someone can be incredibly gifted and still destroy everything around them. Talent can build influence faster than character can sustain it. But you know what? That's dangerous. So maybe while I'm asking God to increase my opportunities, I should also be asking Him to increase my character. Maybe make me trustworthy enough to actually carry whatever He's given me. Make me humble enough to remain teachable, and make me disciplined enough to develop it. Make me courageous enough to use it. Make me generous enough to share it. Because I don't want my gifts to terminate on me. I don't want everything God teaches me to die with me. I don't want every skill I develop to exist only for my own comfort. I want things to flow through me: knowledge, resources, encouragement, opportunity, wisdom, whatever I have. That's actually part of why I'm creating these videos. I'm still learning, I'm still figuring things out. There are things that I'll probably understand differently 10 years from now. But if something I've learned through my life, through success, failure, faith, family, even pain and work, or simply just paying attention, if it can help another person, why would I keep all of that to myself? Maybe that's one of the reasons we're given different gifts, because we're supposed to need each other. I can do things that you can't, quite frankly. You can do things that I can't. Someone else knows something neither of us knows. And when everyone brings what they've been given together, something becomes possible that none of us could build alone. That's the body of Christ. Different parts, different functions, one body. No part needing to become another part. That's freeing too, you know? I don't have to need your gift, or I don't need your gift. I need to faithfully develop mine, and I need to respect yours. Comparison says, I wish I could do what they do. But stewardship says, thank God they can do that. Now, what does he ask me to do? So maybe you already know what your gift is. Maybe you don't. If you don't, I wouldn't panic about it. Look at what people consistently come to you for. Look at what you naturally notice. Look at what you're willing to work at, even when nobody else applauds. Look at what you probably feel drawn to solve. Look at your experience that God has brought you through. Ask people you know well, then start serving. Sometimes we discover our gifts by using them, and we don't wait for a platform. That's another trap. I don't need, and you don't need 10,000 people to serve. Start with one. Teach one person, help one neighbor, encourage one friend, build one thing, cook one meal, share one lesson with someone else. Just solve one problem in your life. Use what you have where you are, because faithfulness with gifts isn't measured only by scale, it's measured by obedience. And one day, whatever abilities I have now, they'll be gone. And, there will be a last thing that I build, a last conversation where someone asks for my advice, a last video, a last opportunity to use whatever God has placed in me. And I don't know when that'll be. So while I can, I want to use it, not frantically, not trying to prove myself or my worth, not trying to become important, just faithfully. Because maybe the tragedy isn't having a small gift. Maybe the tragedy is being given something and, spending your entire life too afraid, too distracted, too proud, or too comfortable to give it away. I don't want that. I want to reach the end of my life with empty hands. And it's not because I lost everything, but because I gave what I was supposed to give. So give what you're supposed to have been done gave, right? I I want to be able to use what I was supposed to use, to teach what I was supposed to teach, to build what I was supposed to build. I hope that I served the people that I was supposed to serve. And if God allows any of it to continue helping people after I'm God, that's his business. And my responsibility is simply faithfulness with what I've been given. So maybe ask yourself, right? What has God put in me that might be useful to someone else? And then ask the harder question, what am I doing with it? Because your gift may have been given to you, but it was never meant to end with you. Develop it, protect it from pride. Don't bury it in fear. And when opportunity comes, give it away. Because maybe the greatest thing that you can do with something God gave you is to use it to become a gift to someone else. Because we were put here not for ourselves, but to serve others and become a gift to someone else. So thanks for y'all just being here and listening to what we have to say today. And until the next one, hey, peace, much love.